Welcome to Theme Park Worldwide. If you've watched this channel for a while, you'll know that I absolutely love Valhalla at Blackpool Pleasure Beach. In fact, it all started when I first rode it when I was a kid. I fell in love with the park's water dark ride. It was everything from the special effects, the ride system, and of course the overall theme of the ride, based around Norse mythology. Now, over the closed season, Blackpool Pleasure Beach announced that Valhalla was going to be closed all throughout 2020 and reopen next year in 2021. After a refurbishment, and that's exactly what I'm going to be talking about in this video. I'm going to be going more into detail and sharing my thoughts on the refurbishment, some of the changes that I would like to see happen to the ride, and some of the things that I pretty much really am expecting from this change in terms of knowing the ride system and how temperamental certain things are. I'm going to share my thoughts on some of the things that are pretty much guaranteed to be happening to Valhalla whilst it's closed for this period of time. But firstly, why now? Why have they decided to close the ride, especially during its 20th birthday celebrations? The ride opened on the 20th of June in the year 2000, so it would have been 20 years of Valhalla this year, which just make you think, why have they decided to close it during its anniversary year? So yeah, there's many options to this really about why they've done it. In terms of the ride, over the past couple of years, the special effects have not been looking in a very good state at all. In fact, we've been mentioning in our vlogs here on the channel that the ride, we love it to bits, but it's not running to its full potential in terms of the special effects. It needed a lot of TLC doing to it. I was hoping that was something that was going to be done over the winter period, ready for this year, ready for its 20th. However, when they announced it over winter and when we went into the park last weekend for the first time and saw all of the boards all the way round, I think we all realised that this was going to be a much bigger project than any of us anticipated. Now, these won't actually be the first changes that have ever been made to Valhalla in its 20 years history. Over the years, it's had new boats, updated scenes inside the ride, and some effects removed and new ones put in over the years. The biggest change to Valhalla was back in 2012 when they completely changed the facade to the ride. Now, of course, you've got that pretty much a very iconic structure with the waterfall on the front. Of course, you head in through the skull on the right-hand side. That's the first part of the experience with the waterfall there. The whole thing was completely replaced. They had like a new photo kiosk, a new exit bridge, completely redid all the flooring out the front of the ride. It was a lot of work that was done in 2012, and it's still looking really fresh out the front of Valhalla. So I'm really, really hoping that what they're going to do with the inside of the ride is going to be as high a standard as what they did with the outside of the ride when it closed back in 2012. Now, when Valhalla first opened in the year 2000, it was a £15 million investment by the park with 16 different scenes throughout the ride. A huge ride, a water dark ride, something very, very different that nobody had really seen before. Of course, you've got Disney and a lot of your parks like Efteling, for example, in Europe, that have built fantastic dark rides, but combining a log flume style attraction in this dark setting with all these special effects, you know, really was something remarkable. And back in year 2000, to spend £15 million in the UK on a dark ride and not on a roller coaster certainly is fascinating. I mean, I would love to see a theme park spend £15 million on a you know, a brand new dark ride in this country now. I mean, I suppose that the closest thing you can sort of reflect with that is Darren Brown's Ghost Train at Thorpe Park when that opened. That was a big investment, not quite what a lot of us were hoping for, but along that lines. But yeah, £15 million was a huge amount of money for Blackpool Pleasure Beach to spend on this huge ride, especially throughout the golden years of that park. 1994, the opening of the Pepsi Max big one, you know, and then 6 years later installing this along with various other investments throughout. It was a big one for them, quite literally. So yes, the ride system itself was manufactured by Intamin, a Swiss manufacturer that have done lots and lots of work at theme parks around the world. They're very famous for their accelerator coasters. Yeah, they've done some amazing rides out there. They also brought in various different companies from abroad, especially in the United States, from Hollywood, to work on the special effects for this ride, because Valhalla was going to be something special. Of course, at the time, this was Jeffrey Thompson's big project. He really wanted Valhalla to be something spectacular, and it certainly was. I remember riding it for the first time and coming off and thinking, what have I experienced? It was quite scary for the first time going on Valhalla, to be honest. Now, let's talk more about, why they're sort of closing it now and what can be done to sort of help the ride in the future be more sustainable. So you've got to think the initial cost was very, very high for Valhalla at £15 million. In terms of running costs for the ride, there's a lot of numbers that they get sort of bartered about all the time about it in terms of how much it costs to run. You know, I'm led to believe that the special effects cost over £1 million a year to run for that ride, which is a huge amount. In that 20-year time frame, you've got to think that technology has moved on a lot, hasn't it, in terms of how to conserve heat and how to warm things up better and cool things down. That technology has really moved on over the years. So what I'm thinking is here, we're going to see some changes that sort of reflect that in terms of maybe replacing some of the effects with more modern technology, which means some of the running costs for the ride will be a lot lower than before. So that doesn't mean they're going to go in and rip all the fire out. And again, this is just my look at it, my thoughts on this throughout the video, nothing confirmed. But I'm thinking we might see them replace some things, you know, what can be done better. And so yeah, in this video, I'm just going to go through now the different scenes in the ride, talk about some of the effects that I love, some bits that I'd like to see changed, and some bits that I think are pretty much guaranteed to change. Starting off with some that I'm pretty sure are guaranteed to change in Valhalla, and that's the safety of the ride. I think we may see some updates to the boats. Of course, Intamin built Chiapas de Oazaban, which is a log flume at Phantasialand in Germany. It's got wonderful boats. It's got a lap bar system. It actually spreads the boats out around the circuit like a coaster does. It's got chain lift hills. It wouldn't surprise me if we see some updates of some form to the ride system itself to make it extra safer. You've got to think there has been some incidents on water rides over the past few years at theme parks, both here in the UK and abroad, so we may see some changes come into that. Evacuation corridors. If you've ever been evacuated from Valhalla, you'll know that it's quite an interesting experience. You may be climbing through puddles of water, literally about that deep, water falling down from the ceiling. Yeah, you know, an evacuation on Valhalla really is something quite different, and I've had many of them over the years. I know a lot of you guys have. But yeah, I can see the evacuation corridors completely being updated in there as well. I think it's certainly needed. And whether we see lap bars come to the boats or not, that's another big thing as well. I mean, again, there's pros and cons to having lap bars on a boat, but at the end of the day, when you're in a huge ride like that and some of the drops are ridiculously steep, it wouldn't surprise me if we see that happen. So let's talk through the ride then, shall we? Of course, you enter in on the right hand side of the show building under the waterfall and enter this world of Valhalla. And of course, one of the first things you see is the effects on the right hand side, where you've got like the dogs coming round to the side, and you know, that sort of sets the scene. I really like that opening scene. I imagine that's not going to get touched too much, or at least I hope not. I think that's a really nice set the scene. Of course, you then see the lift hill down in front of you with the fire torches on either side. Again, you know, in terms of fire effects, there have been a lot of improvements to technology over the years. Wouldn't surprise me if we see some updates there. The lift hill itself, of course, has got this wonderful trommel tunnel that's all the way around it. It's not worked properly for many, many years. I would love to see that replaced. I don't know if they will or not because it's a huge cost. But yeah, I'd love to see some work done to that trommel, or if not, some extra theming added in there now that it doesn't need to fully rotate. Then, of course, you've got the Norse god on the lift hill just above you as well. That's a fantastic effect. However, it's very, very dated. It's actually back projected. You've got the head up there. He says various different words that all fit with the theme of the ride. It's a back projection, so you imagine you go up the lift hill here, there's his head, it's projected from the back. Technology's moved on a lot. Projection mapping, maybe. Could we see a projector shining forward at it? Completely projection map it. Maybe something new up there. Who knows what we might see. Of course, we then drop down into the main part of the trough, into the steam room. This is where I really feel like, you know, they could save a lot of money in terms of running costs. A lot of heat is escaping from the ride here. I really feel like they could do so much more with that to conserve energy. That's what it's all about these days, isn't it? You know, conserving energy, making it environmentally friendly, and also saving their running costs. So it wouldn't surprise me if that heat room, you imagine throughout the year, that's costing a fortune to heat up. Yes, it's not a real fire effect in there like later in the ride, but a lot of heat is escaping straight out, so I can see them making some changes there to make it more sustainable, to be honest. But yeah, along with that, you've got like the UV lit face on the right hand side. You've got the head that pops up in front of you. I can see those possibly being updated as well there. Of course, you've got the top turntable where you turn around and make your way down the backwards drop. Again, I would love to see some updates in general to the ride there, just in terms of audio and maybe some more effects. Yes, you know, the view steals the show there. You go into that turntable, you see a beautiful view of Blackpool Pleasure Beach and of Blackpool Tower and all the way down the prom, but it'd be nice to see a bit more in terms of audio and special effects there as well to complement the view. Of course, you got the wind effect then on that bottom turntable where you turn around before you move forward again after that reverse section. You know, I really like that effect with the fan. I wouldn't, you know, I'd like to see that stay the same just as it is, to be honest. Of course, then you enter into the ice room, which really is something spectacular. I should have said was spectacular. This is the room that I would like to see the most change in with the Valhalla transformation, to be honest. You know, I love Valhalla to bits, you know, I really do, but this is the room for me that is not a patch on what it used to be. I remember going in there, you had like the snow machines, it was blasting out snow whilst you were in there, like, you know, I've not seen that for quite a few years. I'd just like to see it updated. For the past couple of years, there's been just pipes and stuff left in there and exposed. You're only in that room for like less than 20 seconds, but it has so much of an impact on the ride because it's freezing cold, so it's a minus 20 degrees inside that room. But yeah, I'd love to see that completely updated. Maybe some new figures at the side in there, not animatronics because I don't think they work very well, but just some new figures down the side in there, updates to the trees, more of a frosty feel, maybe even some projection mapping in there if they could somehow get some projections in some protective casing or something like that. But yeah, I'd love to see the ice room completely updated, and again, it could be more sustainable and saving on the running costs for them. Of course, then you enter the first of one of two large drops on the ride. Fantastic drop. That is really nice sort of near miss elements all the way down. I'd like to see that stay pretty much as it is, to be honest. But then we make our way down into that big splash, followed by the wettest part of Valhalla, and that is the water vortex, the water tunnel that comes all the way over. You get absolutely soaked on that, and you never actually used to. That effect actually used to fully go over the boat. You know, like, in fact, we've got an image here. Look at that. That's how it used to be, going right over the boat. It's not like that anymore. You know, you get absolutely soaked. You really do. All it needs is that completely replacing, or I wouldn't complain because I think more people would enjoy Valhalla more if that wasn't there. It's a big stable part of the ride, but I'd like to see them keep it, but maybe add in like a perspex or something over it, or maybe add a new one in and with perspex, just so you get more of a look at it instead of getting absolutely soaking wet. And I know it's a water ride, it's designed to get you wet, but you get absolutely soaked for the whole day if you're on that bit. So, you know, it would be nice to see them maybe update that to make it a more enjoyable experience for people. It has been known to be turned off sometimes when it's been very, very cold, actually, that effect. But most of the time it is on, and it is a soaker, and it definitely needs some work doing, in my opinion. Following on from that, you make your way around the corner, you've got like a water can effect that blasts up, which is good, and then of course you've got like a fake waterfall as well. You know, it's real in front of you, you come around the corner and the lights go off, the waterfall stops. Great effect. I want to see more stuff like that, more tricks in Valhalla with this update. So, you know, imagine going around that corner and you see, and the light just goes off, you think, oh, you know, I'm going to get soaked, but actually the water stopped as well. Beautiful effect. You then make your way round into the second lift hill on the ride. I'd like to see some updates around there. There's not actually that much to see on that second lift hill. Never really has been. If you look out to the right, you can see the drops and a couple of like Viking ships and stuff like that, but it's not prominent enough. You know, you're looking straight up this way and then that's all down at the side of you. So I'd love to see some more updates with that one. Of course, then you enter my favourite part of the ride, along with the ice room, and that is the jungle scene at the top. This is fantastic. Beautiful scene. I would love to see some more lighting, projections in there. Imagine projection mapping of like lightning and stuff on the walls in there. It could be fantastic. At the moment, you can kind of tell that you're in this big warehouse at that point as well. So it'd be really nice to see them update the lighting, and I think we're going to see some big changes in there. You've got the big hammers that come down together. You get soaked, but not too much. Not as much as the water vortex. So I'd like to see them stay. Maybe projections on those. You know, there's so many updates to technology that I really feel like they can implement into Valhalla. A, to make it look better, and B, from their point of view, a cost-saving measure, because technology's just moved on so much since it was built in the year 2000. Along with that, of course, you've got the rolling spike that makes its way over. That's a really nice effect. I'd love to see that stay. You know, it gets so close, you're going along the boat and you see this rolling spike come towards you. Fantastic effect. And then of course you've got the firelit arrows all the way down the side as well, that are beautifully done. You know, the fact that you hear the sound effect of the arrow coming across and then the fire pops out, like little things like that. Love it. Honestly, it's making me really miss Valhalla just talking about it this much. And, you know, before filming this, I listed all my favourite things with the ride and a little sort of, I walked myself through the ride, you know, just to put it all together and talk about this video. But it's made me miss it so much. Honestly, I'll be there whenever the first chance is to get on it. I'll be straight there next year. I really will. Of course, you then make your way into a scene that was updated in 2012 along with the exterior of the ride, and that's where you've got the two skeletons on the left hand side of the boat and a random laser that I absolutely hate. That laser, I don't know why they put it in there in 2012, it needs to go. That used to be an area where there was Tesla coils and all sorts of effects many years ago. They were took out quite early on in the ride's life, but then it was left not much going on. So I appreciate the fact they did something. The skeletons don't look too bad, but I just feel like that scene looks a bit cheap and tacky compared to some of the other stuff in Valhalla, so I'm really hoping that we see some updates to that. That green laser's got to go. You've also got a non-themed sound effect saying please remain seated for the drop. You know, I understand safety is paramount, it always is at parks, but I really feel like that needs to be more themed, and there's a way of doing it, getting a Viking to speak it or something like that. I think would be an improvement. That wasn't an original part of the ride. Again, that was added just a few years ago. That wasn't even 2012. That was added a little bit later with that one. Of course, then you make your way down into that final drop, and the most unreliable effect on Valhalla, the most impressive when it works, it's the Ring of Fire. A documentary was released actually not too long ago, all about Valhalla, and you know, well, I say released not so long ago, it was filmed when the ride was being built, but it's been uploaded to YouTube. It's a great watch. And I saw a lot of the comments on there, people saying that Ring of Fire effect hasn't worked for years and years. In fact, it has, and it was still working in its last year. However, it's just so unreliable. I've done some tests over the years about how to actually see that. Of course, it's completely random, but I did 10 rides, and out of the 10 rides, I saw that effect once. It's so unreliable, but it did still work. So what they need to do is make that more reliable, more sustainable, and I think that can be done with today's technology. So I'm really hoping that effect doesn't go. It was the highlight of the ride. Literally, the water sat on fire in front of you, and the boat would come down the drop, and it would, as the water splashed, the fire effect would go off, and you'd go straight through where the fire was. Amazing effect. I don't know if you ever experienced that, but comment down below. I would love to know. And then, of course, on the left-hand side, you've got the like the Inferno of Longships with all the fire effects just there as well. Some big explosions, really enjoy those. Hope we don't see any removal of fire, but again, we might see things replaced just with more modern technology. There's ways of saving money now with fire effects and stuff. You see a lot of shows, a lot of parks have updated their effects. I think it's time for Valhalla to have those updates, definitely. And then, of course, into like the 40 degrees room at the end, you've got the two final blasts with the longships on fire. It's a beautiful moment, and then you head out of the ride. I think the finale is spectacular. I feel like they could do more with sound effects, maybe some projections in there, but even if it just stays as it was, you know, I'll be more than happy. Of course, the ride ends, you make your way out that final tunnel, and you've got one big water splash at the end that gets people on the boat and also people watching. But there we go, that's a nice little sort of ride through there, isn't it? All the highlights of Valhalla, my input of what I'd like to see change, some bits that I think will change, especially from a safety point of view, but who knows, it's all speculation. But what we do know is they're putting a lot of effort into this. They put that construction wall all the way around the front, you got the different images on there, and of course they're playing the Valhalla soundtrack as well. Talking of audio, I'd like to see some new effects in there in terms of sound effects. The main track I love. Does it need to be played throughout the whole ride? Maybe not, but then you've got like an echo issue if they try changing the tracks at different scenes. So who knows, unless they tried to make the speakers a bit more sort of localized to the ride instead of playing throughout the whole building, you might be able to do some different tracks in different points, because they've done some great music at Blackpool. Especially over the past few years. The Notable Stranger for one, Glennie's done some fantastic music for Icon and The Big One and Hot Ice, so you know, we might see them do some more with Valhalla, but I hope we keep that iconic tune in some way or form, even if it's just in some scenes of the ride where possible. But there you go, that's my lowdown of Valhalla and the refurbishment that's taking place this year. Of course, we're going to be filming many videos from Blackpool Pleasure Beach throughout 2020, so stick with us for all the latest updates, and of course, if there's anything that happens with Valhalla, I'll be straight down there doing some filming from what we can see from the exterior. Of course, it's the mystery of it because we can't see inside the ride, you know, we can't get in there to see what's happening, but we might see things being delivered or more work on the exterior. Who knows? There's not many details about it all at the moment, but they're my thoughts on it. So thank you very much for watching Theme Park Worldwide. I want to know your thoughts on the Valhalla refurbishment down below in the video comments, and of course as well, let me know your favourite scene in Valhalla. You've got 16 scenes to choose from, so comment down below your your favourite scene. Thanks for watching, and that means it's time to cue those credits. See you in the next video.